We're continuing our discussion in Chapter 9 of the time value of money. Now, this will be a pretty short lecture because I'm going to refer you back to the other video that I created for the personal finances called a Primer on the Time Value of Money. So if you don't remember from Chapter 8, go back and rewatch that again. It's going to really talk you through conceptually what annuities are and how to calculate it using the charts in the back of the book. So I'm not going to repeat all of that again for purposes of here. One of the things that you do need to be aware of is in that video itself, I really talk about just how to do the manual calculations using the charts in the back of the book. There is also a way of doing those calculations using financial calculators. Also, there's a way, if you want to teach yourself, that talks about in the textbook itself about how to do make those calculations using Excel spreadsheets. And I'm not going to go into all of those details here with respect to that itself. I do want to mention just in passing with respect to just the present values and the use of these kinds of calculations that is very evident in bank loans themselves. Because all bank loans, whether they're to a business or to an individual for a mortgage or other purposes, are based on the present value of an ordinary annuity. So it's important to understand conceptually what is happening here, even if you kind of forget over time how to do the actual calculations themselves. I know the algebraic equation on this, you kind of look at this and go, bleh, it kind of seems to be overwhelming. But what it really is doing, it's coming up with a rate that allows a bank to be able to back into what the monthly payments would be on a 30-year mortgage for $100,000. And in essence, these tables, you can do this manually or you can do this on a calculator or even an Excel spreadsheet with using the formulas that are embedded in the cells there. And so it's again, there's these net present values in these annuity payments have all sorts of application throughout the financial world. That using that same approach for a 15-year mortgage, you can see that making an assumption of 8% payment interest rate on a bank loan for a $100,000 bank loan, that if you wanted to pay it off in 15 years, that's $955 per month. So the term amortization, if you're not familiar with the term amortization, it is a term that just talks about the reduction of some sort of balance over time. For example, you can have amortization of certain kinds of assets, which is instead of depreciation, you talk about amortization because it's not a fixed asset per se. It's a different kind of asset. You amortize off or write off over time. And when you look at it in reverse of what happens with an amortization itself, amortization of mortgage balances is you really are keeping track of how much of a payment you're making per month, how much of it is reducing the principal, and how much of it goes towards the loan itself. So when you talk about amortization and components of an amortization table, it's usually important to understand what the payments are. What is this payment number 17 of 300, or what exactly is when the payment is made, beginning of the month versus the end of the month has an impact on the amortization, what the payment amounts are, what the interest, and then of that payment amount, what portion is applied to interest and what portion is applied to principal, and then what's still out there on the loan itself. And if you really want to get depressed, you look at an amortization table for a pay down of a mortgage and you start to recognize how much money you are paying for the right of that $100,000 over time. And it can be kind of depressing. I want to mention, there are many kinds of mortgages that are out there. The mortgage that type that you can qualify for is usually based upon FICO scores, and FICO scores, again, these are credit scores that you'll hear referred to, usually range from 500 to 850. 500 is very poor credit, which means that the risk premium that you're going to be paying on a mortgage, if you're even able to get approval for a mortgage, is going to be a whole lot higher than somebody who has outstanding credit at the other end of the credit score range of 850. There's three basic types of mortgages granted by lenders. Some are called prime mortgages, which are given for those who have outstanding credit scores and have a sufficient amount that they're putting down. And they have sufficient capital usually to make not only those down payments, but also sufficient capital to cover their mortgage payments themselves. There's what's called a prime mortgagee, which is aimed at individuals who are improving their scores. They may have had a credit problem in the past, but they're definitely getting their back on their feet financially. And then there's what's called subprime loans, which are those who have poor credit ratings and considered to be high risk. And the interest rates that are going to be charged on that, which not only includes what the bank is borrowing, called the prime rate. Well, actually, the bank is borrowing at a Fed funds rate, and then the prime rate is where they start to build the base for what they're going to charge you as the lender themselves. And one of the significant pieces of that is the risk premium. And so as you go from type 1 down to type 3 here, the risk premium goes up substantially. And so the interest is going to be paid out there is going to increase substantially. Next chapter, we're going to be talking about starting to bring together these financial concepts of the time value of money to really look at how that plays into making significant capital budgeting decisions in a business. Until next time.